Online Entertainment presents Freeze Frame. Our guests, Carol Pope and Kevin Staples of Rough Trade. With a strong sense of sexuality reflected in the lyrics of their songs, Rough Trade's music has a definite, distinctive edge.
I'm doing it because I want to make some money to have more artistic freedom.
Complaints? You can air your complaints here.
Okay, I want to be richer and more famous.
Richer and more famous.
And less cold.
Yeah.
It's like a high school confidential. A high school confidential.
Stay tuned for Rough Trade's words and music next on Freeze Frame.
Are you actually going to record this, or is this?
Yes.
You're recording right now.
All of this is recorded.
This is exciting.
It's been 10 years now for Rough Trade, so it's a long time. Is this where you planned on ending up 10 years ago?
We had imagined ourselves being further along in our careers at this point, but no serious complaints at this point.
Well, I do, but let's not talk about that.
All right.
Oh, you have complaints? You can air your complaints here.
Okay, I want to be richer and more famous.
Richer and more famous.
And less cold.
Yeah.
Now, how did the name Rough Trade come to be?
That was Carol's brilliant idea.
That was another joke idea I thought would be amusing. Because I was looking in I don't know, some dirty magazine, and I saw a picture of a guy with a leather jacket and no pants, and
That was it.
that was it. I thought, this is our inspiration.
When you sit down to write a song, is it the lyrics that come first, or is it the music, or is it perhaps a toss-up in whichever one lands first?
Generally it's music first, but lately it's been sort of, we've both been working at the same time, like I'd be writing songs and she'll be writing the lyrics, and then we sort of patch them together in some fashion.
You must run into situations where one of you wants to do a song and the other one doesn't want to do a song.
Sure.
Do you arm wrestle to figure out who wins?
No, it usually just goes into sort of a waiting list, holding pattern, and comes back in some other fashion. Take some of the ideas that were strong about the song originally and rework them or something. We don't ever really, with both of us, I think if we don't feel that it's right to do it. I mean, generally it's more if Carol doesn't really think she can sing the song that I write. If it's not appropriate for her, then she either says, well, I don't want to work on it now, or maybe later we'll use it some other way.
Oftentimes when people will write a lyric, and there are those who read into it and they think, well, I know exactly what this is about. Do you run into this situation? I know that you don't really like to talk much about lyrics.
Some people do, but some people totally misinterpret them. So it's very interesting.
Most of your lyrics and most of your songs are done in fun. Especially I notice the sexual songs.
Yeah, well, usually, I'm very self-mocking, and I just make observations. And yeah, there is a sense of humor, but it's a very black sense of humor that some people don't pick up on, and they think that I'm serious. But hey, I'm not.
People tend to read more into, I think, songs. I think that's probably true with a lot of writers, is they read more into it than there actually is.
Back a number of years ago, when you were performing on network television during the Juno Awards, you were singing High School Confidential, and one of the lines in the song has to do with creaming your jeans. Did you catch much flack over that?
Not really. Actually, people loved it. They thought that the award show was spiced up. I mean, the director had a seizure. I mean, I couldn't, it was live, and I knew they couldn't stop me, so I did it.
They were prepared for the song. It was the fact that Carol had,
grabbed my crotch.
Oh, that's right. Subtle.
She's a cool, blonde, scheming bitch. She make my body twitch. Walking down the corridor, you can hear her stiletto click. I wanna so confidential. Teenage Brendos stalk her in the halls. They tease her with cat calls. She's a combination, Anita Ekberg, Mamie Van Doren, Dagmar, a high school confidential. A high school confidential. What's the principal doing with her? Who's that guy? Is he screwing with her? What's her perfume? Tigress by Fabergé. It make me cream my jeans when she come my way. Oh, high school confidential. A high school confidential. She drives a candy pink, a Cadillac. If I don't get her soon, I'll have a heart attack. When she passes me a look, I wanna burn my books, give up high school. Well, a high school confidential. A high school confidential. A high school confidential. A high school confidential. Her tense face away from me.
Let's talk about performing on stage. I found out, interestingly enough, a while ago that Mick Jagger, a lot of Mick Jagger's moves were stolen off Tina Turner some years ago. Has there been anyone over the years that you've emulated as far as performing? I'm not saying that you stole, but...
No, I mean, just my style evolved just from performing.
Yeah, I think Carol definitely has her own style and her own stage presence. And again, it's the same as the writing. There's no real emulation. Obviously, one appreciates people that are talented, and you do pick up certain techniques from watching people. But I don't think there's anything that's as close to, say, Mick Jagger and Tina Turner in comparison with Carol. And myself, I just look like a fool up there.
You just hop around and...
If you had a preference, if you could choose a venue for performing, would you take clubs or would you take the big concert halls?
Neither one. I think it's kind of nice to play sort of small, like 15 to 2,000 seat places that can have dancing as well. Not unlike like old theaters where they've taken out the seats and there's like just a big open space. And I think that's the most comfortable because when people are on their feet, they're with rock and roll, they're having much more fun. Concerts can tend to be very hard for the audience to enjoy themselves and hard for the band to really sort of communicate because you're so sort of removed from them. And clubs are always fun just because it is so intimate.
When you're performing now, do you think to yourself after a while, I don't want to do this music anymore, I'd rather do something else, but you feel that you've got a commitment to do the hits, so to speak?
No, if we don't get tired of doing something, we don't do it. No matter how much they beg us.
I mean, if you're tired of doing it, there's no point in doing it.
Yeah. You know, if I can't, there's certain songs I did them for years and I can't sing them anymore because I fall asleep. I go on automatic pilot. And the whole thrill of performing is, getting off on what you're singing and getting feedback from the audience. At least it is for me.
There are now a number of international stars who are aware of your work. One of your songs is being released now in Germany by someone, is it not?
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the artist.
Kurt Jerkins? I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Which tune are they doing?
Oh, All Touch.
All Touch. In German. And Dusty Springfield did 2 of our songs on our last album, and Nona Hendrix did 2 of our... Well, we actually
co-wrote some songs with Nona Hendrix.
For her new album.
Now, is there a specific project in the works for the future that is going to be different than the rough trade that we're now accustomed to? As you mentioned that...
I don't think so, no. We're starting work on another album, which we've been writing for, which will be basically a continuation of Shaking the Foundations, but I think a little more humorous.
Yes.
Because people have been taking us awfully seriously here for the last year, so we thought we'd try to poke the fun out of them.
I pushed her tense face away from me. I pushed her tense face away from me. The hot smile, voice going on like a razor blade on glass. Oh, touch, but no contact. It hit me like it hit me like it hit me like a slap. Oh, all touch, and no contact. I pushed his hand away from me. I pushed his hand away from me. Splintering fragments of conversation never got down to cold hard facts. Oh, touch, but no contact. It stabbed me like a knife in the back. Oh, touch, and no contact. Tense my body for the final attack. Oh, touch, and no contact. I pushed her tense face away from me. I pushed her tense face away from me. The hot smile, voice going on like a razor blade on glass. Oh, touch, but no contact. It hit me like it hit me like it hit me like a slap. All touch, and no contact. Challenging eyes over the rim of a cocktail glass, hoping I'd react. All touch, and no contact. Stab me like a knife in the back. All touch, and no contact. Tense my body for the final attack. All touch, and no contact. Hit me like it hit me like it hit me like a slap. Touch.
Do you do anything to occupy your time other than, because I know you spend a lot of time, and as you said, working with synthesizers and various equipment and stuff. Is there anything that occupies your time that doesn't have to do with your work?
Well, I go to night school for neurosurgery, and no.
It's a good hobby to fall back on.
It's a good hobby to fall back on. I think mostly just because we're working more and busy more, I spend more time at home now, kind of being out of the public, not socializing as much. More of like a homebody. I like to stay home. I like to write and work at home. So that's about it. I think I think really it becomes more and more that you become more and more dedicated to the job.
But there must be certain times that you don't want to think music, that you don't want to perform, or you don't even want to hear a band, or...
That's right. No, I spend most of my time not wanting to listen to music. I'd much rather go see a film or go to theater, or Carol likes to travel.
You like to read a lot as well.
Yeah. Well, I usually read a lot before I'm going to write. Or, I mean, you know, I do go to New York a lot, and I like to go to Europe again. You know, I just want to see everything before it's totally destroyed.
You come from a family that has some show business background, though.
Yeah. My mother was a singer and a dancer in, I don't know what to call these shows, but sort of variety shows. She worked with Ida Lupino and Tessie O'Shea and George Formby. And my father was in the circus, among other things. He was a stilt walker. So,
A stilt walker.
yes, he was. Among other things, too numerous to mention.
Do you have a show business background as well?
I was born in a trunk in the Princess Theater with Judy Garland. Well, my father was a dancer and an actor, and my mother is she didn't work in theater, but she worked sort of backstage theater in some ways. She's now an interior designer, and my father's a designer as well.
If you weren't doing what you're doing right now, what would you do?
Gee, I said I'd be a dominatrix in an interview I just did. Well, that's what I'd do if I couldn't be in any form of show business, but I suppose I'd write or get into film, which is sort of what I want to do anyway.
I get the feeling that somewhere down the line that you might end up spending a little bit more time with some of the other visual arts.
Yeah, I would really, you know, like to write a film or be in a film or, you know, anything like that.
How about you, Ken?
Yeah, I think so. I think if I couldn't do this, if I couldn't be in the business, I'd like to work in theater or maybe work, you know, even behind the scenes in film or theater. But if it was to be you mean nothing to do with show business whatsoever? Probably something more physical, active, like even something using your hands, be it carpenter or something like that. Because I like working with my hands. So
I get the feeling that you know, for a lot of musicians, they're looking for the big break in terms of being massive, mega buck, multimedia stars. But I get the feeling that that's not all that important for either of you. That you don't necessarily want
Carol would say different.
Well, come on now. I think, you know, we'd like to have a big fat hit, at least one.
It affords you a great deal of freedom to do other things. I think that we don't think about it being strictly that we want to be in a rock and roll band for the rest of our lives. I mean, there's so many other things that we'd, you know, could do and we'd be interested in.
We don't expect to be, you know, big, huge, giant pop stars, jumbos. We just don't think that way.
Doesn't mean our ambition is any less than those people. I think it's just more diverse.
I think we're doing it, I'm doing it because I want to make some money to have more artistic freedom.